I want you to visualize something for a second. Close your eyes if you aren't driving.
Okay.
You are driving across the Confederation Bridge. It's the middle of the night, pitch black, and the wind is just howling outside your car. You are suspended, 60 meters above the freezing Atlantic Ocean on this thin ribbon of concrete.
That is a visceral image. It's
Yeah.
just you, the headlights, and the void.
Exactly. Now, in that moment, as you feel the wind buffeting your car, are you thinking about the tensile strength of the rebar in pier number 14?
No, definitely not.
Are you worrying about whether the geotechnical engineers slept well the night they calculated the sediment load for the foundation? Are you, like, mentally checking the maintenance logs for the expansion joints?
No. You're thinking about your podcast or your coffee or, just getting home to your warm bed. You aren't checking the math.
Right. You are in a state of what sociologists call passive reliance. But here's the terrifying part, that safety isn't the default state of nature. Nature wants that bridge to fall down.
It's actively trying to.
Gravity is relentless, salt water is corrosive, ice is heavy. The only thing keeping you out of that water is a web of invisible promises made by people you will never, ever meet.
And that is exactly where the deep dive begins today. We are looking at the mechanics of those promises. We aren't just talking about ethics in the abstract, philosophical, don't steal from the petty cash sense.
Yeah.
We are analyzing the structural engineering of trust itself.
The source material we have today frames this as the big four duties: loyalty, confidentiality, competence, and diligence. And I have to be honest with you, when I first read that list, it sounded a bit Boy Scoutish.
A little dry.
A little dry. Like a poster in an HR break room that everyone just ignores.
That is the common reaction.
Yeah.
It really is. It sounds like compliance training.
Yeah.
But if you strip away the corporate speak, these aren't just rules. They are survival strategies.
Survival strategies.
How so? Well, specifically for our listeners preparing for the NPPE, this is the bedrock. This is everything. If you don't intuitively grasp why these duties exist, you won't just fail the exam. You'll be dangerous in the field.
Dangerous in the field. I like that framing. It really raises the stakes.
It does.
Now, before we jump into the deep end of the pool, I have a very specific request for you. If you want to make sure you catch all our deep dives on the NPPE exam material, and we are going to go deep on all of it, please take a second right now to like and subscribe to the show.
It's important.
We want to make sure you have every tool you need to crush this exam, and subscribing is the best way to stay in the loop.
Absolutely. Think of it as the first step in your own due diligence.
I like that. Okay, mission control check. We are framing this as a hardcore study session. We are the knowledge people today. We are not skimming. We are unpacking.
Let's do it.
So let's start with section 1, the integrating framework of trust. We talked about the bridge, but let's look at the social contract. The source material uses that specific term. What does it actually mean in this context?
It means that the trust we talked about isn't an accident. It's not a coincidence. It is a transaction, a very deliberate one.
A transaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Society, the public, has made a deal with professionals. Society says, okay, engineers and geoscientists, we are going to give you exclusive rights. A monopoly.
A monopoly.
Absolutely. You are the only ones allowed to design bridges or drill for oil or sign off on skyscrapers. We will give you status, high pay, and a monopoly on this critical work.
That's a pretty good deal for the professionals, a really good deal.
It's a fantastic deal. But there's a price tag. There's a catch. In exchange, society demands a higher standard of conduct than they expect from, say, a regular business person.
Why, though? Why the higher standard?
Because of the stakes. I mean, if you sell used cars and you sell a lemon, that's bad customer service. It's frustrating. You lose money. But if you design a bridge and it's a lemon, people die.
Right. The consequences are on a completely different scale.
Completely. So the social contract is, we give you privilege, you give us protection. It's that simple.
And within that contract, who are the specific people we are serving? Because society feels very big and abstract. It's hard to get your head around on a Tuesday morning.
That's a great point. On a day-to-day basis, you are serving two main masters, the employer and the client.
Okay, let's break those down.
The employer is the one signing your paycheck. They need you to help the business make money, meet goals, and succeed. That's a given. The client is the one using your services. They depend on you for independent, competent advice because they literally don't understand the technical side.
They're vulnerable.
They're incredibly vulnerable because of that knowledge gap. If I hire a structural engineer, it's because I don't know how to do structural engineering.
Mm.
I am completely at their mercy.
You're trusting them not to exploit your ignorance.
Precisely. And that is where the big four come in to protect that relationship. And I want to stress something from the source text immediately because it's the most important point of this whole section.
Go ahead.
These four duties, loyalty, confidentiality, competence, diligence, are an integrated framework.
What do you mean by integrated? Can't I just be, really good at the technical stuff, competence, and maybe be a little loose with the confidentiality?
Yeah.
Or really loyal but cut a few corners on diligence?
No, absolutely not. It's the knowledge person framing we need to shatter right now. You cannot treat these like a buffet where you pick what you like.
Okay.
They rely on each other. Think about it. You can be the most brilliant engineer in the world. That's competence, right?
Or two of your class.
Top of your class. But if you sell your client's trade secrets to a competitor, that's a breach of confidentiality. Have you served your client? Have you acted professionally?
Not at all. You failed.
You've completely failed. Or you can be incredibly loyal and keep every secret, but if you are lazy and don't check your calculations, a breach of diligence, the bridge still falls down.
So they are like four legs of a table. If you chop one off, the whole thing falls over.
Exactly. Or think of it like a chemical compound. You take out one element, and it's not water anymore. It's something else entirely, something useless or dangerous.
I like that. They aren't isolated silos. They define the entire shape of professional practice.
They are the practice.
All right, let's pull these legs apart and examine them, starting with the first one, which I think is the most misunderstood. Loyalty.
Ah, loyalty. The source of so much confusion.
When I hear loyalty, my mind immediately goes to mob movies. I need your loyalty, Tony.
Yeah.
Or I think of a golden retriever, just, unconditional love. Whatever the master wants, the master gets. Is that what we are talking about here?
It is absolutely not what we were talking about.
Yeah.
In fact, that version of loyalty-blind obedience is actually a trap. It's one of the biggest ethical traps a young professional can fall into.
A trap.
In a professional context, loyalty is defined as the duty to act faithfully in a legitimate interest of the employer or client.
Legitimate interest. Okay, that word legitimate is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, isn't it?
It's doing all the lifting. It's the entire game.
Let's play devil's advocate here. I'm going to push back on this because I think it's where people struggle in the real world. Let's say I'm a junior engineer. I have a mortgage. I have 2 kids. My boss, who controls my entire future, my promotions, everything.
The person who can make your life easy or hard.
Very hard. He comes to me on a Friday afternoon.
Wow.
We are behind schedule on a site. He says, look, I know the soil testing isn't 100% complete, but we need to pour the concrete today or we lose the contractor for 3 weeks. Just sign the permit, be a team player, be loyal to the company.
This is the nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
Right. So in that moment, if I say no, I'm being insubordinate, I'm hurting the company's schedule, I'm costing them real money, how is saying no an act of loyalty? That sounds like betrayal.
It feels like betrayal in the moment. It absolutely does. It feels like you're being difficult, you're not a team player. But let's zoom out. This is what economists call the principal-agent problem. The employer, the principal, wants speed and profit. You are the agent hired to get that.
Oh.
But you are a professional agent. You have a higher duty.
The duty to the public, to society.
Yes, the hierarchy of duty is crystal clear, and you have to have it tattooed on your brain for the NPPE. It goes, public safety, society, and ethics always trump the employer or the client.
Always.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. But let's look at why saying no is actually loyal to the employer in the long run. Let's follow the path. Let's say you sign that permit to be nice and loyal.
I just sign it. Make the boss happy.
You make the boss happy for a day. 6 months later, the foundation shifts because the soil wasn't right. The building cracks. The remediation costs are $5 million. The company gets sued for negligence. The reputational damage is catastrophic. Maybe the firm goes bankrupt.
And my signature is on the document that started it all.
Your stamp, your signature, you started the fire. So by trying to be loyal and save them a day of delay, you effectively handed them a stick of dynamite and lit the fuse.
Wow.
True loyalty, professional loyalty is tough love. It's stopping the employer from making a mistake that will destroy them. So loyalty is effectively saving the company from itself.
Often, yes. It is refusing to follow an unethical instruction because following it is not in the employer's legitimate long-term interest. Doing something illegal, unsafe, or unethical is never a legitimate interest.
That is a powerful shift in thinking. You aren't a soldier just following orders. You are a guardian of the company's future.
You are a guardian. That's a perfect way to put it.
But we have to acknowledge that takes some serious courage. That's a hard conversation to have with your boss on a Friday afternoon.
It takes immense courage. That's why the NPPE tests it so heavily. They want to know if you understand that distinction, if you have that backbone, before they give you the license to practice.
Okay, let's flip the coin. That's good faith loyalty.
Mm.
What about the other side of loyalty? The part about not undermining them? Conflict of interest.
This is the banana peel. This is the one that trips up even the most honest, well-intentioned professionals.
Define it for us. What is a conflict of interest at its core?
At its core, a conflict of interest occurs when you have a personal interest. That could be financial, family, another job, any other obligation that interferes or even just appears to interfere with your professional judgment.
That appears to
Well,
is crucial, right? Because I feel like a lot of people think, well, I know I'm honest. I know I can hire my brother's construction firm, and I'll still treat him like anyone else. I'll be even tougher on him.
that is the classic mistake. It's the Caesar's wife standard. Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. In professionalism, perception is reality.
Perception is reality.
Absolutely. Even if you are a saint and you treat your brother's firm harder than anyone else, if the public or another bidder sees you hiring your brother, what do they assume?
Corruption. Favoritism.
Immediately. And once the public assumes corruption, the trust is gone. The project is tainted. Your reputation is tainted. It doesn't matter what was actually in your heart.
So it's not enough to be clean. You have to look clean.
You have to look squeaky clean. The test is if a reasonable, uninformed outsider looking in would say, hey, that looks a little fishy, you have a conflict of interest problem.
So what's the strategy? The source material outlines a 3-step process for managing this.
The 3 magic words: identify, disclose, avoid.
Step 1. Identify.
First, you have to be self-aware enough to identify it. You have to have that little alarm bell go off in your head that says, oh, wait, I own stock in this supplier I'm about to recommend. Or, hang on, my wife works for the company that will get the contract if my report is favorable.
You have to be honest with yourself first.
You do. And then step 2, and this is the most important step, you disclose it. You tell your employer or client immediately and openly, hey, just so you know, my cousin owns this company.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
It really is. Often, once you disclose it, the client might say, I don't care, you're the best person for the job, go ahead. And then you're usually okay because you've been transparent.
Yeah.
But you have to give them the choice. You can't make that choice for them.
And the third step, if it's really bad.
If the conflict is too severe, or if the client isn't comfortable after you disclose it, the only option is to avoid. You recuse yourself. You step out of the room. You let someone else make the decision. You build a firewall.
I saw a quiz question in the notes about prioritizing personal career advancement. How does that fit in? Is that a conflict of interest?
It's a more subtle form of divided loyalty. It's a conflict between your interest and your employer's interest.
Explain that.
Well, if you are making technical decisions, say, choosing a more complex, expensive technology for a project, not because it's the best solution for the client, but because it will look great on your resume.
Because you want experience with that new shiny thing.
Exactly. Or you're trying to position yourself for a promotion. You have drifted away from acting solely in the employer's legitimate interest. You are serving yourself first. It's a breach of loyalty.
It's subtle, but it's real. Okay, let's move to the second pillar. We've covered loyalty. Now let's talk about the keeper of secrets. Confidentiality.
The duty to protect information. This one seems straightforward, but the edges are fuzzy.
Right. Obviously, this means if I'm working on a top-secret military jet, I don't post selfies in the cockpit on Instagram.
That's the easy version, yes.
But the source material suggests it's much broader than just document stamped classified.
Much, much broader. It covers almost everything you learn in the course of your work that isn't already public knowledge. Trade secrets, intellectual property, technical designs, business strategies, pricing models, client lists, even personal data about employees.
So what's the test? How do I know if I need to keep my mouth shut about something?
The reasonable person test applies here too. If a reasonable person would expect discretion regarding that information, you keep it quiet. If you are in a meeting and they are discussing a potential merger that hasn't been announced, you don't go tweet about it.
Even if no one says, this is confidential.
Even then, the expectation of discretion is implicit in a professional relationship.
Let's talk about the job hopper dilemma. This is a huge one in the tech and engineering world today. I worked for company A for 2 years. I learned a really cool, efficient way to code a certain type of simulation. I get a better offer from company B, a direct competitor. Can I use that knowledge at my new job?
This is the gray area where you have to be very, very precise.
Okay.
You are allowed to take your skill and your experience with you. That's your human capital. If you learn how to be a better coder, that's yours. That's your professional growth.
Okay, so I can take the know-how.
You can take the know-how,
Yeah.
but you cannot take the trade secrets. You cannot take the specific proprietary code library that company A wrote and spent $1 million developing.
So I can't just copy-paste the code.
Absolutely not. You
Yeah.
can't take the client list that they spent 10 years building. You can take the fact that you know how to manage a project, but you can't take the specific project's files and data with you.
It's a fine line. It's like the difference between taking the recipe and just taking the skill of cooking.
That is a perfect analogy. You are a better chef now, which is your competence, but you can't steal the restaurant's secret sauce recipe. That's their confidential information.
And does this duty expire? Let's say I quit. Can I write a tell-all book 5 years later about all the secret projects?
No. The duty is perpetual. It does not end when the paycheck ends. It does not end when the project is finished.
So it lasts forever.
Unless the information becomes public through some other legal means, you take those secrets to the grave.
To the grave, that is a heavy burden. But again, there's always a but, isn't there? There is an exception, the whistleblower clause. When are we allowed or even required to break this seal of silence?
There are 3 doors you can walk through.
Yeah.
Door number 1 is the easy one, authorization. The client or employer says, please share this information with the contractor. Done. Easy.
Okay.
Door number 2, law. A judge issues a subpoena. You are compelled by law to disclose the information in court. You comply.
And door number 3, the big one.
Public safety. This is the nuclear option. If you have clear, credible knowledge that keeping a secret will result in serious danger to the public, like, companies illegally dumping toxic waste, or a structural flaw in a public building is being covered up, the duty to public safety overrides the duty of confidentiality.
This goes back to that hierarchy we talked about. Public safety is king.
Correct. But you have to be so careful here. This isn't a license to just vent. You don't just dump all the company's files on the internet like a hacker.
Yeah.
No, you perform a surgical strike. You disclose only the specific information necessary to avert the danger, and you disclose it to the authorities who can actually fix the problem. The Ministry of the Environment, the professional association, the police. Not just to the media for clout.
It's not about drama, it's about safety.
Exactly. It's a controlled, responsible breach for a higher purpose.
All right, let's shift gears to the third pillar, competence. Now, on the surface, this seems simple. Be good at your job. But I feel like there's a modern twist to this that we need to unpack.
Be good at your job is the headline for sure. The formal definition is having the necessary knowledge, skill, and judgment to perform the work. But the nuance, the real key for today's world, is in that word, judgment.
And the source mentions that competence is dynamic. It's a moving target.
It moves fast, incredibly fast. What was competent engineering in 1990 might be considered malpractice today.
Give me an example.
Well, think about seismic design codes. After every major earthquake, we learn something new. The codes are updated. If you are still using a design standard from 20 years ago, you are likely incompetent today, even if you were a top expert back then. Materials change, software changes, laws change.
So you have to keep running just to stay in the same place?
That is why CPD, continuing professional development, isn't just a bureaucracy thing where you check a box. It's an ethical mandate. It's a core part of being competent. If you stop learning, you stop being competent. It's that simple.
I want to talk about the psychology of competence, because the source implies something really interesting, that a truly competent person is actually someone who knows what they don't know.
Yes, this is so important. There is a psychological concept called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Remind us what that is.
It's a cognitive bias, where people with low ability at a task dramatically overestimate their ability. They don't know enough to even recognize how much they don't know.
The unknown unknowns.
Exactly. In engineering or geoscience, this is catastrophic. You have a junior grad who thinks, I've seen 3 soil samples. I know how this works. They are dangerous because they are confident but wrong. A truly competent professional has humility.
So they have the self-awareness to question themselves.
Yes. They look at a problem and say, I'm not sure about this aspect. I don't know the answer to this. I need to consult a specialist, or I need to do more research.
So saying I don't know isn't a sign of weakness.
It is a hallmark of professionalism. It is a sign of true competence. It proves you understand your limits. And the rule is strict. You must only practice within your scope of competence, which is defined by your education and your experience.
Let's modernize this. What about the black box problem? We all use incredibly complex software now. I punch some numbers into a program, it runs for an hour, and it spits out a green light. The report says, structure safe. Am I competent if I just trust the green light?
This is a massive issue in the industry right now, this reliance on the black box. And the answer is an unequivocal no.
No.
No. If you rely on a computer program to do the thinking, and you do not understand the underlying principles well enough to do a sanity check to verify if the answer even makes sense, you are not acting competently.
You can't outsource your judgment to an algorithm.
You cannot. If that bridge falls down because of a subtle software bug, you can't stand up in court and say, but the computer told me it was okay. You are the professional.
Yeah.
You are the one with the stamp. You are responsible for validating the tool you use.
That hits hard. It means you can't just be a button pusher. You have to be a thinker. You have to understand the fundamentals.
Exactly. Competence is about understanding the why, not just the how.
And if I find myself in over my head, if my boss asks me to sign off on something I really don't understand.
You have options, but faking it is not one of them. You can seek training. You can hire a specialist to review it. You can ask for supervision from a senior colleague. Or, and this is the hardest one, you have to decline the work.
Decline the work. That's hard to do when you have bills to pay and a boss to please.
We keep coming back to this friction, don't we? It is hard. But the alternative is negligence. If you practice outside your scope, you are gambling with other people's money and potentially with their lives.
Okay, let's move to the fourth and final pillar, the workhorse. The unsexy hero of the group, diligence.
Diligence, the daily grind. This is where the promises are actually kept.
If competence is, can you do it? Diligence is, did you actually do it carefully?
That's a great distinction. A perfect one. You can be the most competent surgeon in the world. That's competence. But if you don't wash your hands before surgery, that's a failure of diligence. And the patient dies of infection.
So diligence is about care, thoroughness, and effort.
That's it. It's about recognizing the serious consequences of errors and taking active steps to prevent them.
So what does diligence look like on a random Tuesday morning for an engineer?
It looks boring, honestly. It looks like checking your calculations 3 times, even when you're sure they're right the first time.
Okay.
It looks like verifying the assumptions in a report from another consultant, rather than just assuming they are correct. It looks like reading the fine print in the building code. It looks like documenting your decisions and why you made them.
It's the checklist. It's the boring stuff.
It is the checklist. It's what aviation calls the Swiss cheese model of failure defense.
Yeah.
Every single layer of diligence, checking the math, reviewing the drawing, visiting the site, is a slice of cheese with holes in it. But if you stack enough slices, it's very unlikely a hole will go all the way through.
So diligence catches the errors before they become disasters.
Yes. And the catchphrase from the source is one to remember. A diligent professional doesn't cut corners.
Ever. Even when the pressure is on.
Especially when the pressure is on.
And the pressure is always on. This is the pressure cooker we live in. Deadlines, budgets, angry clients. We need this out by 5 p.m.
We've all been there. Every single professional has felt that. But here is the expert analysis, the legal and ethical reality. Time pressure is never a valid defense for negligence.
So if I end up in court and I say to the judge, I skipped the final peer review because my boss was yelling at me and the client was threatening to pull the contract, the judge doesn't care.
The judge will say, then you were negligent. Diligence is non-negotiable. If you cannot do the job diligently in the time provided, you have an ethical obligation to raise the flag. You have to tell your boss, I cannot meet this deadline without compromising quality and safety.
So you can't submit substandard work just to meet a deadline?
You cannot. That connects directly to liability, doesn't it?
How so?
Most professional liability lawsuits aren't because the engineer was stupid, that is, a failure of competence. They are because the engineer was sloppy, a failure of diligence.
They missed a detail.
They missed a detail. They didn't check a drawing. They made a typo in a calculation. Conversely, diligence is your shield.
Your shield? How?
If something goes wrong, and things do go wrong sometimes, nature is unpredictable. If you can prove you were diligent, that you followed the standards, you checked your work, you documented everything, you are often protected from liability. You can demonstrate that you exercise due care.
So skipping the checks to save time is basically gambling with your entire career.
And gambling with public safety. It is the ultimate failure of professional duty.
Okay, we have the big four: loyalty, confidentiality, competence, diligence. Now, section 6, integration, putting it all together. Because in the real world, these things don't come at you one at a time in a neat little package. They come all at once in a messy tangle.
They do. And sometimes they create what we call the conflict illusion. They seem to be at war with each other.
Give me an example of that illusion, where they seem to fight each other.
Okay, let's go back to our stressed junior engineer. The client wants a complex design finished by tomorrow. The duty of loyalty says, serve the client, meet their needs.
Right, get it done.
But the engineer has never done this specific type of complex design before. The duty of competence says, stop, I can't do this.
Okay, there's a conflict right there.
And to do it right would take a week of research and checking. The duty of diligence says, slow down and be thorough.
That sounds like a stress headache waiting to happen. The client wants it now, but ethics says stop.
It feels like a conflict. It feels like you have to choose which duty to betray. But if you integrate them, if you see them as a system, the path forward becomes clear.
How do you resolve that mess?
Well, a loyal professional acts in the client's legitimate interest. Is it in the client's interest to have a rushed, incompetent design that might fail?
No, of course not. That's the worst possible outcome for them.
Exactly. So the truly loyal act is to protect them from that outcome. The competent move is to be honest about your limitations and say, I need help to do this properly. You bring in a senior engineer or an external specialist.
Yeah.
That then fulfills your diligence requirement because you are ensuring the work is done correctly and is properly reviewed.
So by saying, I can't do this by myself by tomorrow, you are actually being more loyal than if you just stayed up all night and tried to fake it.
Infinitely more loyal. If you tried to fake it to be nice, you would be breaching competence and diligence, which eventually destroys loyalty because the project fails and the client sues you. They support each other. You cannot be truly loyal if you are incompetent. You cannot be diligent if you are breaching confidentiality to do it.
That is the synthesis. A diligent professional ensures quality, reinforcing the loyalty owed to the client. It all circles back.
And the so what for the listener is this. When you are faced with a scenario, either on the NPPE exam or in real life where duties appear to clash, the answer is never to ignore one of them. The answer is to use your professional judgment to integrate them.
And do not automatically favor the employer's short-term demands.
And never automatically favor the employer, and never ignore ethical concerns. You have to find the path that satisfies all four duties, with the public welfare always sitting at the very top of the pyramid.
All right, are you ready for a rapid-fire round? We're going to run through some what-if scenarios based on the source quiz. I'll throw a messy situation at you, real-world stuff, and you tell me which duty is in play and what the right move is.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Scenario 1. I am working crazy overtime to meet a deadline. My friends haven't seen me in weeks. I'm completely exhausted, living on coffee. Is this a conflict of interest?
No. That is just hard work. It might be a bad work-life balance, and your employer might have a duty of care issue, but it's not a conflict of interest in the ethical sense. A conflict is specifically about a secondary interest like money or family competing with your duty.
But is there a duty in play?
Oh, yes. If you are so tired that you can't think straight, it becomes a competence issue. Your judgment is impaired. You shouldn't be stamping drawings if you haven't slept in 48 hours.
Got it. Scenario 2. The project is over. It's been 5 years. I'm at a bar with some buddies from another firm. Can I talk about the trade secrets and the cool technology we developed on that old project?
No. Put a drink down, walk away. Confidentiality is perpetual. It lasts forever. Unless that trade secret has been officially published in a journal or a newspaper, you keep it secret.
Scenario 3. My boss wants me to sign off on a geotechnical report. I'm an electrical engineer, I trust my boss, and he says the geotechnical guy checked it, but the geotech guy is on vacation in Hawaii, and we need a signature now to get the permit.
Do not sign it. Put the pen down. That is a massive breach of competence. You are not a geotechnical engineer. You cannot take responsibility for work you do not understand. And true loyalty to your company requires you not to fake it and expose them to that risk. You must decline.
Scenario 4. I'm under huge time pressure. The budget is completely blown. I'm pretty sure the drawings are right. I did them myself. Can I skip the final independent peer review to save time and money?
Pretty sure is the enemy of diligence. You cannot skip the review. That is negligence, plain and simple. Your firm's quality management process requires it for a reason. You have to find a way to get it done properly, or you delay the submission. Better to be late than to be liable for a collapse.
Okay, last one. Scenario 5. I'm leaving my company on bad terms. They just fired me. A longtime client calls and asks for my project files to give to the new consultant taking over. I really, really don't want to help them. I'm angry.
Swallow your pride. You had to provide the files, subject to your contract terms, of course. The client paid for that data. It belongs to them. Professionalism, which is really a blend of loyalty and diligence, means not letting your personal feelings obstruct the client's legitimate business needs. You hand over the files, clean and organized. That is class. That is what a professional does.
This is really clarifying. It takes these abstract words and just puts them into the mud and the mess of the real world.
That's the entire goal.
Yeah.
The NPPE isn't testing your ability to use a dictionary. It's testing your ability to apply these concepts in messy, realistic situations where the pressure is on and the right answer isn't always the easy one.
So we're coming to the end of our deep dive. Let's recap the 4 pillars one last time for the road. Just the key idea for each.
Okay. Loyalty. Acting in good faith, serving the legitimate interest, but always prioritizing public safety over blind obedience.
Good. Confidentiality.
Confidentiality.
Oh.
The duty of silence and protection, which is perpetual and active. You have to safeguard the information. Competence. Knowing what you know, but more importantly, knowing what you don't know, and never outsourcing your judgment to a black box.
And finally, diligence.
Diligence. The daily grind of care, thoroughness, and the checklist that keeps us all safe.
And together, they make up the professional, the complete professional.
Exactly. And I want to leave the listener with one final thought, if I may. We often talk about these ethical duties as rules or constraints, like they are chains holding us back from making money or moving fast. But I want you to completely flip that thinking.
How so?
These duties aren't burdens. They are tools. They are the physics of professional trust. Just like the law of gravity holds the bridge down, these duties hold the profession up. Without them, your signature on a document means nothing. It's just ink on paper. With them, your signature is a guarantee. It's a shield. It's a promise of safety and quality to the entire public. These duties are what allow us to build the modern world, skyscrapers, medical devices, clean water systems, without it all falling apart into chaos. They are the source of your power and your value as a professional, not a limitation on it.
That is a fantastic way to look at it. It's not about what you can't do. It's about what these duties allow you and society to build.
That's it. That's the whole game.
Thank you so much for breaking this down with us today. This has been a true deep dive. To everyone listening, if you want to keep building that muscle memory for ethics and ensure you are ready to be successful on the NPPE exam, please, right now, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us keep making these deep dives, and it keeps you on the path to your professional license.
Good luck with your studies. You've got this.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.